Campaigners in Cirencester are worried that the town could look more like Swindon if 2,500 homes are built in the Bathurst estate in Chesterton. The protest group Save Our Cirencester believe that the number of houses, the equivalent of Tetbury, they say, will spoil the heritage of the town. They say it would look like a Swindon housing estate, turned up in their droves at the District Council budget meeting yesterday to ask questions. Now, Graham Phillips is the architect and the master planner behind these proposals. I've chatted to him this morning. He says they're not building a soulless housing estate, but it's going to be an impressive piece of work.
Well, I think we would have to disagree with that. We've worked for the best part of 2 years already, even in the run-up to submitting this application, on really developing a scheme that makes the most of what is a fabulous site. It'll sort of be an integration of the countryside and the edge of the town. We've done a lot of work to ensure that what it definitely will not be is a soulless housing estate, and I think those who've been able to come to many of the events we've held, we've done numerous sessions with the community, have hopefully begun to see from our work that that's far from the intention, and we're confident it will not be that.
A persuasive argument. Cllr Joe Harris, leader of the Lib Dem group on Cotswold District Council, with me now. Morning to you, Joe.
Morning, Mark.
I know you're against it. A very persuasive argument, actually, that it's a fabulous infrastructure and it will integrate into the countryside.
Well, yeah, I'm not convinced. I haven't been convinced ever since the idea was first mooted. I think my group's line and our view on it is that actually it's just too many. It's an unfair allocation for Cirencester. Of course, we accept the need to build houses, but we just feel it's a 40% increase on the size of Cirencester isn't the right approach.
Have people used the right terminology? Because a lot of people I know living around Cirencester with kids, they'd love their kids to be able to stay in the area. They might think, what's all this stuff about Swindon? Isn't that a bit snobby, sort of looking down on Swindon, and it's a bit Cirencester posh NIMBYism?
Well, yeah, I'd agree. I don't think there's anything wrong with Cirencester. I go there regularly to shop. And
Sorry, do you mean Swindon?
Yes, yeah, Swindon. I go there. So, there's nothing wrong with Swindon, but Cirencester is a special place, and there is something that makes it special, and that is that's the historic element, the architecture, the centre of town. Of course, we're not going to lose that, but by adding a large housing estate on the size of on the side of the town, it just changes the character slightly. I think it gives it the feel of a much bigger town than we would perhaps like.
If you accept, I know you're questioning the numbers, but let's accept those numbers have to happen. Where are we, just for the layman in this, where are we in this planning process? Is it still possible then it could be 2 or 3 sites across the town, or some whapped into some of the local villages? Is that still a possibility that could go ahead? Or are we almost at a done deal now that it will be just one site at Chesterton?
Well, I think, unfortunately, we are at the stage where it probably is a done deal. We're so far down the line now. The government are saying that if councils don't have a local plan in place by 2017, they're going to start implementing them. We're at the tail end now of our local plan process. So I think, unfortunately, it probably is a bit too late. My group has been saying for the last few years that we want to see a different approach. We want to see an approach where there are 2 or 3 strategic sites around the Cotswolds, and actually the smaller villages that are actually asking for housing. There are communities out there that are asking for housing are listened to. At the minute, the local plan says a lot of those smaller villages aren't sustainable and won't receive housing, which I think is unfair on them as well.
Joe, thank you. Cllr Joe Harris, we will keep you across where that goes, because we're currently in that sort of vital planning stage. Any thoughts if you're living in and around Cirencester? Happy with one estate, tactfully melded into the countryside, according to the planners, or houses elsewhere in the periphery, but housing is desperately needed in that area? Various calls, people saying, did I hear you defending Swindon on the show this morning? Yeah, I think you might have done. 8:28, morning sport. What